Okay, Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius. Let's do this. So, this energy makes me feel like because my Lilith is not in Aquarius, it is in Libra, but it is in the 11th house, and I observe what I call vibrational astrology. Basically, for me that means when something is transiting through Aquarius, like the moon or the sun or literally anything else, it vibrates the 11th house, and therefore that's why I always say, right, check your sign placement and your house placement, because everything vibrates together, right? It's a big vibrational melange of energy. So yeah, I really feel this Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius, and it is, right? If you feel this, you know what I mean, because here you have, it's essentially the wound of alienation, if I'm going to dub it that, right? And I will. This is the wound of alienation. And it's not fun. So with this placement, you can feel like literally everyone is out to get you, right? And this can go micro to macro, human to cosmic. So on the very human level, a really stereotypical, easy example with this one is childhood bullying, right? You go to elementary school, all the other kids are mean to you, you are the last one to get picked for California kickball, and it's that feeling of having to walk to school with your head hanging down, like looking at your shoes, because everyone is pointing and laughing at you, and all the other kids throw rocks at you, and all of that. It is that feeling of being the outcast, and there's a spectrum to this, right? So some people might really have these deep experiences of being the alien, being the outsider on multiple levels, right? But some of you, and I think this even makes it more complex, some people with this placement, you actually learn to fit in. And this is when you're really like trying to address this issue, right? So some people, if you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm the outsider, I'm the alien, I'm the outcast, I'm going to walk on the fringes of society, and just that can lead you to like learning to walk with your head held high, learning to walk down a hallway when everyone's laughing at you, when everyone is throwing gum in your hair. Like, guys, would you believe do you know how old I was the last time somebody threw gum in my hair? I was 16, okay? I was 16 the last time somebody threw gum in my hair. I was like, I cannot even believe this is still happening to me, right? Anyway, so for me, I kind of took that route of like doubling down on being the outsider. And of course, if you watch my other channel, you know that I really take this experience of being an alien to like a whole nother level. And for me, that's a whole thing. But there's another way for this to manifest, because with Lilith, you have to allow for both extremes, right? So the other extreme this can go is somebody going, okay, I feel like an outsider, I feel like I don't fit in, but I'm going to really figure out how to fit in, right? I'm going to really figure out how to fit in, because this can also lead into this, I could also call it the wound of validation, or like the like heartfelt lack of validation, right? And again, you can completely reject the need for validation. You can just go, okay, I'm going to have to be the alien, and I'm just going to have to get okay with being on the outside looking in. I'm just going to have to be okay with that for my life, right? And just kind of understand that I have to go without validation. I will not be validated almost ever, and you can just kind of exist in that space, starved of validation, right? And you can even start to reject the very idea of being validated, and you can go, people who seek validation, they're just doing something bad, right? We should reject validation altogether. The other side of this is people who go, okay, I'm going to figure out how to get validated. I'm going to figure out how to fit in. And these people end up essentially doing that low vibe Aquarius thing where you hide who you really are, where you might even forget who you really are, and everything just goes like submerging the self and learning how to act in a socially acceptable way. So that, and it's not because you're like deliberately being duplicitous or anything like that, it's because you crave acceptance. Of course you do, you're a human. Humans need to be accepted. We need validation, we need all of these things, and it's normal and healthy to want that. And when your Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius is acting up and you're realizing, I'm not getting any acceptance, I'm not getting any validation, I am the outsider, I have no circle, I have nowhere to belong, right? You can go, okay, I'm going to try and figure this out. I'm going to do what I need to do to fit in. And, if this is playing out in terms of, you know, your childhood experience, you could think of all kinds of weird things that you might do as a kid to try to fit in at school, right? You could learn to dress the way that the other kids are dressing. You could learn to do what the other kids are doing, even if you don't like it. You could learn to become mean. You could learn to actually become the bully yourself. Not that I think like you guys really did that, right? That's just an example of an extreme way that can go. Really, it's about subverting the self in order to find acceptance within the group. And if this goes to a really, like, if you're really into this, right, if you're really going extreme, this is, I mean, this can even be, like, maybe you took this on in this lifetime so that you can really catapult yourself into something greater, right? You could even use this energy to catapult yourself into stardom. I'm really reminded of a Madonna song, I don't remember what it's called, but she talks about how her fame and her like celebrity and her career is a substitute for love. A substitute for love. All of the money, all of the fame, all of the notoriety, right, that she has done everything to acquire in her life, it's a substitute for love. So, I mean, I have no idea if Madonna is a Black Moon Lilith and Aquarius, but that's kind of an example, right? If you feel like you're completely starved of validation, completely starved of acceptance and belonging, you can really catapult, you can have this really desire to acquire that basically at any cost, right? At any cost, or you can feel like you need to achieve a certain level of visibility, a certain level of fame, a certain level of stardom, or a certain level of like establishment in society, because that can make you feel like, oh, well, that's how I can get it, right? That's how I can get it. And of course, I mean, it's really interesting because we don't want to get too like judgmental on this, because sometimes we take on these wounds and we take on these, like an easy example is someone could take on extreme poverty as a child so that they can learn to overcome like the poverty issue in their ancestry and catapult themselves into, you know, being really, really wealthy, right? And even if they're kind of manifesting from that place of lack, or from that place of like negative manifestation, right, where you're reacting to something you don't have, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad, right? Like what if your desire to be validated and your desire to find acceptance, what if that gets you to where you wanted to go in this kind of roundabout kind of way? So I don't want to get too like judgmental on that trajectory, because you could easily have orchestrated that for yourself so that you could get there, right? But I think you can kind of see the two different Lilith trajectories that Black Moon Lilith and Aquarius can go. One is kind of really over-identifying as the outsider or the alien. And of course, that is really, that has its own issues with that. And that's definitely the side that I have gone, right? Definitely the side where I've doubled down on being the alien and the outsider. And then you end up with this big chip on your shoulder and you just feel like the whole world is out to get you, and you push people away that would like to try and accept you, and you can start seeing the whole world through this really suspicious and negative thing going, and you can end up with this like this feeling of never ever 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 trusting anyone and being really overly suspicious of everybody, because it's like if you have this placement, if you're watching this video because you have this placement, then you know what I mean, of feeling like everyone's out to get you. Like, like everyone's staring at you, like everyone is judging you constantly, hyper aware of this all the time, right? And then that kind of like cultivates, that really, really influences your persona, right? And in this path, you can kind of end up in a strange place where over-identifying as the outsider or the alien or the outcast can really become a very deep part of your identity in a kind of unnecessary way. And you might have to go through a really long, slow journey of learning that, hey, you don't need to necessarily be that much of an outsider all of the time. There are some people who want to accept you. There are people you can find your tribe, right? You can find your tribe, or you can find your fame, you can find your acceptance, you can find your validation, whatever this is for you. You can find that space. It does exist for you if you simply let go of this fixation on being the outsider, on being the alien. So at some point, and it can be this really weird journey of journeying back to normality, journeying back to normalcy, and realizing it is okay to simply fit in. It is okay to simply be normal and do normal things and be around normal people and allow the normal people to just accept you. And you might even find that there are normal people who accept your weirdness and your otherness, right? There are normal people who won't be alienated by your otherness. So those are the paths as I see them for Black Moon Lilith. And I mean, that's the human level, right? So let me just approach a little bit how this can go really, 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 really cosmic, because Aquarius is the, like on the higher, more esoteric level of Aquarius, right? It is the network collective consciousness. I see it as a web of the great cosmic web of all consciousness, of all, especially like thinking consciousness, right? Never forget that this is air energy, this is minded energy, and it is a collective energy. So it is this mental network of air energy. And on, you know, it, like, to me, it corresponds with the 11th dimension. You know, however you want to look at the dimensions. It's just the network of the higher mind, of all consciousness in a network, in a web, all interconnected. And so when you have Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius or in the 11th house, because you got to think the 11th house, it's not just friends and community and all of that. It is also how the universe supports you. How the universe supports you and your hopes and your dreams, and how the universe supports your hopes and your dreams. So whichever way you've got this, Aquarius at the 11th house, there can be this feeling of the universe itself turning its back on you, or the universe itself not supporting you, or the universe itself thwarting you, and even being an outsider on some kind of cosmic level, right? A cosmic outsider. You can feel like a cosmic outsider here, and you can have various experiences in your life where it feels like consciousness itself is against you, like reality itself is against you, the universe itself is not supporting you. And of course, this is part, I mean, that to a large extent, I would argue, is an illusion, especially all of the like negativity and damage that you might have attached to that. It's not necessarily this, because I think at the end of the day, the universe is always supporting you, right? And experiences that we might have, or zones of reality that we might encounter where the universe is not supporting us, that is like a small pocket thing. It is an isolated, temporary thing, and it is to some extent an illusion, right? When you really get through and pierce all of the illusions, you find out that, I mean, you are one with the universe. We are all one consciousness, so the universe is always supporting you. And, you know, things that when you're not feeling that, there's always some kind of explanation, you know? So yeah, so you can end up feeling like the universe itself is not supporting you, and you can feel literally on a cosmic level, on a soul level, like an outsider. But this is, again, part of your journey to your own individuation, part of your journey to your own individuality. And I would actually say, if you're seeking fame, some kind of broad scale recognition or validation with this one, I mean, maybe, I guess you could go the Madonna route, where there's something strange about Madonna to me. I've always thought, like, she's hard to recognize. She's hard to see. I feel like I don't know who she is, or like I don't get the sense of like an individual in there. I feel like she's like this construction. She feels like a construction, you know. And you know, she's made so many different types of music. And when I was a kid, I would see her different music videos, and I wouldn't even recognize her. I would have to like look on the thing to see that it was Madonna, because I couldn't recognize her. I could never really see her. And I feel like, you know, whether or not you agree, like whether or not you see her in that same kind of light, right? That's kind of beside the point. But that kind of experience of looking at someone and going like, who are they really? Like, who's the person in there? Right? They just have this construction around themselves of how they're showing this construction to the world. That I think would be, you might be able to get fame and fortune that way, but is that going to be the kind of fame and validation and recognition and acceptance that you really want? Or would you rather really, really, really discover your own inner self and then learn to share that with the world? And that's really the hard part, right? Because your inner self is in there. And some of you might, depending on your other placements, right? You could have a very, very firm sense of self, right? Some of you might be on a quest to discover your sense of self. It's like that's more than just the Black Moon Lilith, right? That's like you as a complex psyche. So depending on where you're at with that, right? But once you've discovered your inner sense of self, then the quest here becomes with the Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius or the 11th house to show that to other people, to show that. And then you encounter, and then you have to confront, right? Then you have to confront the fear of being seen. Although, again, opposites with this one. Some could have a deep, crippling, mortal terror of being seen, and others, exact opposite, but kind of the same, right? Can feel like so invisible. They feel that like they could be, I don't know, playing the Super Bowl halftime show and still no one is seeing them, right? It can go either way. It's this thing with visibility, right? This absolute terror of being seen, in which case you would need to confront that and learn to show your face and your personality and yourself and your thoughts and your heart and your feelings to the world. And that's definitely the way that's been my track, right? The other track is if you feel like totally invisible and like this is a bad thing for you, right? Because other people actually like to be invisible. I have strived my whole life to be invisible because that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, if you feel invisible and you want to be seen, consider the actual root of why you feel so invisible. And I would postulate with this placement, it's related to you're showing the world aspects of yourself that aren't authentically yours, right? You've created a construction, probably dialing it all the way back to your original feelings of alienation and outsiderness and rejection from the group. And you closed yourself off, you closed your inner self off and did what you needed to do in order to be accepted, in order to be validated, in order to fit in, and in order to get along. And then, so now everything you show to the world, it's not really authentically yours. It is something you have constructed. And that is why you never feel seen, right? So you will feel seen, deeply satisfied, deeply accepted, and deeply validated as soon as you show your authentic self to someone else. And you might find that you can feel more validated and more accepted by showing your authentic self to one singular person as opposed to millions who are seeing the fake construction of yourself, right? It's not that it's like fake, right? It's that it is a construction. It's a construction that you created in order to fit in, right? Because you thought that that was what was going to work, right? It was just a pragmatic thing, right? It was a pragmatic choice you made in order to get along in life, right? So this whole thing boils down to Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius, the 11th house. It boils down to your quest to show your real, true, authentic inner self to the world. And that is when you can find and discover and experience and really enjoy validation, inclusivity, acceptance. You can find your tribe, you can find your group. And then it is so exciting. You'd be like, wow, I can't believe it, right? I can't believe I found my people, right? They were out there this whole time. I just couldn't find them until I put myself out there. And, you know, I will close here by just using myself as an example. When I first started uploading tarot reading videos on my other channel, right? Like that, and that was like over 3 years ago at this point. I had this feeling like I could find my people if only I put myself out there, right? How am I going to find my people unless I make myself available? And I didn't do like anything to push my videos out there, or like, and I don't do anything. I don't do social media. I don't do any marketing or anything like that, or any advertising. I just started uploading videos, and one by one people started trickling in. And I was like, wow, like it worked. All I did was put myself out there and make myself available, and then just wait. I created the space. I literally just put myself out there and waited. And then my people were attracted because it was like my energy was there. It was vibrating. It was out there. And then people who are like me kept showing up, and to this day keep showing up. Keep showing up. Every time I simply just make myself available and put myself out there, it attracts people who are like me in all kinds of different ways, right? It's not like we're all exactly the same, but it's like, yes, I can connect with this person. I can relate to this person. These people don't see me as an outsider. right? Or maybe it's like we're all outsiders together, right? And it's that feeling of finding your community, finding your tribe, finding your people. And really all it is for me, it was having to face the absolute abject terror of being seen, right? The absolute abject terror. Before I uploaded my first YouTube video, I had a total meltdown. Okay, like a total meltdown. I was like bawling and I was like nauseous and it was terrible. So that was facing the fear of being seen, right? Facing the fear of being seen. And being seen for who I really am, right? Being seen for who I really am and putting that out there. So I just, that was my experience of really confronting and healing this, for me, the 11th house Lilith energy. So I'm going to leave you guys there. Links down below. Check me out. Talk to you later. Bye.